Okay, hello everybody. Hello, hello, hello. Hello. Hello everyone. How is everybody today? I hope everybody's doing good today. All right. Good beans. Okie dokie. All right. Gonna get started here in just a couple of minutes. All right. And we'll get going here with some new material. All right. So wait for a few more people to come on in. I'll see a few people coming on in, so that's good. That's good. How's everybody's week so far? I hope everybody's week is okay. Hopefully getting that work done. Yeah. Okay. I'll give it a couple more minutes here and then we'll just get going anyway. So. Okay. This, let me go ahead and put to the main screen here. So, boop, there we go. There's the main screen right there. All right, there we are. Just a little bit here before we get going. Okay. What a nice morning outside of my alarm clock being left on for 45 minutes. Yeah. All right. Good beans. Okay. Alrighty. I think we're good to go. Let's do this. All right. So we're gonna get started here. All right. And we're gonna get going here. So let's do this. All right. Okay. Let's get started today. Welcome back to Thursday, end of the week time today. So today we are going to be continuing moving forward here within Chapter 9. All right, so what we talked about last time in Chapter 9, again, we talked about the basics of uh, sign numbers there, positive, negative numbers. We also talked about how to add to sign numbers together, adding positive and negative numbers here together. So we talked about those two techniques here. Today, what we're going to be focusing on here is we're going to talk about subtraction, and we're going to also talk about multiplication of sign numbers there as well. Okay, so I'm going to put those two together. If we have time, we'll get to that last section there in section 9.4. But those are the first two things that are on the docket here, first and foremost. Okay, so let's go ahead and talk about subtracting sign numbers. Now, as you can see here on the screen, there are several ways to kind of view sign numbers in terms of subtraction. As you see here, it says -3 minus +2, or -3 minus 2 is another way to actually view that, for example. -6 minus -4, -7 minus -1, or 8 minus 3. Again, um, all we're going to be doing here is just straight up just doing, we're going to take a couple of techniques here in order to do subtraction. And that's going to have stuff to do with what we talked about on Tuesday. All right, so let's go ahead and talk about how we can do that here in this instance. Okay, so let's take a good look here at how to subtract signed numbers. And there are only two techniques that I really want to talk about here, is because at the end of the day, we talked about how to add to signed numbers here together. And what if we could take our subtraction and then oh, you're in class there, Goldmash? Good. All right. How you doing, by the way, buddy? Um, okay. So let's talk about how we can rephrase the subtracting signed numbers. All right. All right. So let's rephrase subtracting signed numbers here. Now, it says there's some patterns here and stuff like that. Let's just break it down into its two most basic patterns, so that way we can put 2 and 2 together. Okay. So first and foremost here, let's put this comment here. Okay, so let's talk about the methods here. Method 1 for subtracting here, okay? So actually I should say case number 1, to be perfectly honest. Let's do it that way. So case number 1 here is if we are subtracting a positive number. So let's say we're subtracting a positive number. Now you're probably saying, well, wait a second here. Hang on, I know how to subtract positive numbers. That seems fine. Well, in this particular case, let's say I had, let's say for example here, let's say I had -8 minus 1. Okay, let's say, just as an example here, I just throw out two numbers here, but one of them happens to be signed, and then one of them happens to be positive. Fair enough. All right. So the key here in this case is, what's the method here in this case? The method here is to rewrite in terms of addition. Okay, so we're going to rewrite in terms of addition here. All right. And how are we going to do that here? This is going to be the big key anyway. If I took -8 minus 1, I could rewrite that as -8 plus -1. So if you were comfortable with this is section 9.2, the end of section 9.2. So if I took -8 minus 1, then that's going to equal -8 plus -1. All right, that's another way we can rewrite this problem here and make it easier. Since we talked about how to add in, add two, say, two negative numbers here together, hey, let's do it that way. The same thing applies if I had, say, let's go with this idea. Let's say I had 5 minus 17. Okay, so if let's say I had 5 minus 17, well, I could rewrite that as specifically as 5 plus -17. Again, how do we want to write this? We just take that number. If we have like a minus b, then the same thing can be written as a plus -b, regardless of whatever those two numbers are for a and b. Okay, and then you could put it into a context that you can understand, and then put them together without too much trouble. Okay, so that's the first case there, is that if we're just subtracting by a positive number. All right, let's go ahead and take a good look here at, don't move for me. Let's take a good look here at case number 2 as well. Okay, case number 2 is where, again, subtracting a negative number. Okay, so subtracting a negative number here, we're going to rewrite in terms of addition. All right, so the method here is to, again, rewrite in terms of addition. And how are we going to do that here? Let's look at a couple of examples, and then we'll I'll put the generic form here on the right of that. Okay, so let's say, for example, here I have, let's call it 3 minus -5. Okay, so let's say these are my two numbers here, 3 minus -5. All right, seems fair. Now, all we want to do here specifically is we're just going to say the negative of a negative is going to be a positive. So say again, a lot of people, what they like to do here is they like to write 3 plus +5. So maybe people do this quite often, and this is perfectly fine. A lot of people like this because, again, it's just easier to change both signs to a positive, and then you got a winner. Same thing applies if we reverse positions here with the numbers. So again, meaning to say if I have negative 7 minus -2, okay, then that's basically the same thing as -7 plus +2. Okay. I'm doing this deliberately here, so that way you guys can see the signs of both numbers here once you rewrite it in terms of addition. So in this particular case, if we have some number here, we'll call it a minus a negative b, that equals a plus positive b. Okay, so two wrongs essentially make a right. So the big key here to take away from this method is that a negative of a negative is a positive. So I guess I'll write it this way. Negative a is equal to positive a. Yep. All right, so that's the big key that we're using here. All right, and very oftentimes, again, it's just sometimes easier just to put it in. If you have a tough time with subtraction there with sign numbers, then putting it in terms of just something that's more comfortable like addition is just by far the easiest method to do. Okay, so we just kind of want to talk about that there, and then put two and two together. Okay, now that we have both of these methods here about how to subtract sign numbers here together, let's go ahead and take a look at some examples here, and let's go ahead and see what we get. Okay, so let's start off with some problems here. Some of these problems I'm not going to do, obviously, but let's start off with this one here. Let's start off with letter B. Okay, so let's do this one here together. All right, so here we have -9 minus 15. Okay, now we're not going to guess. Instead, what we're going to do is rewrite the problem here in terms of addition. Now, this is going to be the first one here where we start subtracting by a positive number. So we have -9 minus 15 here. So we can rewrite it as -9 plus -15. Now, in this case here, now we have two negative numbers that we're actually adding together. Go back to our technique here. Take 9 plus 15, and 9 plus 15 here is 24. And we tack on the negative because this would be 24. And then we tack on a negative here at the end just because, again, they are both negative to start with. So -24 here is your final answer for that. Okay, now let's look at this one here, letter C. Letter C says -5 minus -7. So this falls underneath our second case here of subtracting a negative number. So with subtracting a negative number here, we're going to rewrite it just like we have here as a plus that positive number. So here we can rewrite it as -5 plus +7 or +7. So what a lot of people like to do here is they like doing this again. They write a plus and they write a plus. I think that's the most common thing people like to do. Just put two pluses there directly. You can do that there. I find that to be pretty handy as well. So now we see we have a mix of a positive and negative number. We take a look at 5 and 7 here. Again, 7 is going to be our bigger number of the two. We do our subtraction here like we did last time. 7 minus 5 is 2. And so, again, remember our final answer here has to be negative. So here we get -2 as a result. Okay, so again, just putting those together there. There we go. Okay. All right. Now, let's have you guys give a couple of these problems a try. All right. So let's have you guys try D and E here. So let's take a short minute. Let's have you guys first try D and E. And I may ask you to try a couple more of these, but let's just start off with something basic here. Okay. So let's take a minute here. Try D and E, and then we'll answer these. We'll answer these together here. Okay. Okay, so we got a couple different answers here. We got 4 and minus 5 and 16 and minus 5. Okay. Okay. Well, take about a minute here. So let's go ahead and take a look here. See if you can get the same answers here as I did. Now here we have 10 minus negative 6. So again, we are subtracting a negative number here. So if we're subtracting a negative number, we're going to use that second case here. Back again. Again, we're going to change both of those numbers to positive. So this becomes a plus and this becomes a plus. So actually we have 10 plus positive 6. Or again, 10 plus 6, whichever way you want to call it. So this here straight up will be 16. 16 is correct for that. In this case, we once again have the same thing. We're going to change both of those to be positive. So we have negative 25 plus positive 20. And so again, we just compare the two. We take 25 and 20. Again, 25 is our bigger number here. So again, that's our final answer here will be negative. You just do 25 minus 20. And that equals 5. So our final answer here is minus 5. Okay? You get minus 5 for that. Okay, so our final answers here should be 16 and minus 5. All right, very good. Okay. All right, well, let's go ahead and try a few more questions here, okay, for a little bit more practice. This time, though, I want you guys to go ahead and, guide me for this one, okay? So let's take a look at negative 6 minus 5. How can I, first of all, before we figure that out, how can I rewrite negative 6 minus 5? how can I rewrite negative 6 minus 5? I want to rewrite it in terms of addition, Yvonne. So rewrite it in terms of addition, please. I want to rewrite it in terms of addition just like we talked about from our key cases from before. So I want you to use that. Negative 6 plus 5? And we'll try again on that one. That's not the same thing. Again, take a look at your cases up here. You have to use one of the two methods depending on how the problem is written. All right, guys, I'm going to wait for a while if you guys aren't going to respond to me. So I'll just go do something else for a while, if that's what that's going to be. Negative 6 plus 5? Nope and nope. Those are both the same answers, and those are not it. Try again, guys. You got to be able to see this in your head, and you got to be able to write this out too. So that's not how we write those problems out. Negative 6 minus 5. One of these two you have to follow here. Look at it carefully. All right. So which case does it fall underneath? Does it fall underneath case 1 or case 2? Negative 6 plus negative 5. That is correct. All right. So you have to rewrite it here. Negative 6 plus negative 5. Case 2, no. That's the problem, J-Dragon. Take a look here. If you write negative 6 minus 5, that's negative 6 minus a positive 5. All right, so if you say this out here, this is negative 6 minus positive 5. That's another way to write this problem here. But I want to rewrite it in terms of addition in the middle here. So I actually have, if you take a look here, I actually have this case here, not this one. Note the difference between these two cases. There is a significant difference. Note this is a minus of a negative number. This is just minus of a regular number. That's why it's case 1 and not case 2. So this is the big crux that I want you to see here, okay, is I want you to see, okay, if I'm going to be able to do this right, well, you need to understand about how to rewrite this problem appropriately back into addition here, just like so. So negative 6 plus negative 5 is what I have here. And so in this case here, I'm just going to do 6 plus 5, and I get 11. And then since they're both negative, then my final answer here will be minus 11. All right. So how about letter D then? How about letter D then? Okay. How can I rewrite letter D? That's how we found letter A, but now I want you to find letter D. 4 minus 9. How can I rewrite that in terms of addition? Four plus negative 9? Okay, very good. That is correct. 4 plus negative 9 is correct. Okay, so can you tell me here, what is 4 plus negative 9? Negative 5, that's correct. Good. So you take 9 and 4. 9's your bigger one. Okay, so your final answer will be negative. All right, 9 minus 4 is 5. And we just tack on a negative. Okay, good stuff. All right, nice. Okay, so negative 5 here is our final answer for that. Okay, good. This is what I want you to get comfortable with, is using both cases here appropriately, right? And I know it's tough at first, and I know I'm being a little hard, but again, at the same time here, it is important that you understand that this takes away the guesswork of, let's say, what your sign of your final answer is going to be, or in your head if you're going left to right, or anywhere in between. This eliminates all of that guesswork and instead boils it down into something that's much more manageable for you to do, much like we talked about here on Tuesday. So, yeah, don't misunderstand me. I know it sounds like I'm being very harsh, but in reality, this is one of the very important fundamentals since you're going to see this in pretty much every problem you do from here on out. Whether you move up to the next class there, you're going to see a bunch of positive and negative numbers added together, and you're going to need to get comfortable about how to actually do that. Okay, so putting it into something that that you understand will make problems significantly easier, not only to do it in your head, but if you don't want to do it in your head, which is fine, then writing it out and then taking away the guesswork once you go ahead and do so. All right. Let's look at a couple more here. Let's look at a couple more here. Let's look at letter C. Letter C, how can we rewrite that in terms of addition? And what's our final answer for that? So first rewrite it and then tell me what the answer for this problem is. Negative 8 minus negative 2. Okay, negative 8 plus 2. That's right. Where did we get the 10 from? No, negative 8 plus 2 is correct, Yvonne. You didn't need to change the first number. Only the second number changes. Take a look. Again, if I'm looking at this case here, the first number doesn't change, but the second number does change the sign. So don't do two things at once. Just go ahead and just take it one step at a time. Correct. So you were right the first time there, Yvonne. You changed that to plus 2. So I agreed with what you put there first. Negative 8 plus positive 2. Right. And then Ola and you said, yeah, minus 6 is the correct answer here. Yeah, again, one of the things that you have to understand here is that this is, like I said, I'm being really hard on this one because Fundamentals 101. This is definitely one of the biggest fundamentals and one of the biggest tripping points for a lot of people in further math classes up. I've seen people have, and trust me on this one, I've seen people in calculus still have issues because they don't write it out. So they think they could do it all snap, snap, snap in their head. I'm like, dude, just write it out, and then you'll see exactly what's going on. So because it's not always obvious, and sign changes are really hard. So yeah, it doesn't matter what level of class that you're in. It's tough, so I want to be sure that this particular fundamental is something that you can take away with you when you move up to the next course. Okay, let's take a good look here at, good afternoon, Crevette. How are you, my friend? Bonjour. Um, let's take a good look here at let's see here. Yeah, let's look at letter E here. Let's look at letter E. Oops. I kind of accidentally circled the part I do want to circle. Bah. Boo. All right. So what is letter E? So -7 minus -15. So first of all, how do we rewrite that? And then what's our answer going to be here? All right, -7 plus 15. That's correct. Okay, nice, nice. All right, and what do we get for our answer here? If we have -7 plus positive 15, pardon me. 8. Okay, very good. So again, we compare the two numbers here, 7 and 15. Again, 15 being the bigger number. Our final answer here is going to be positive. Yes. Okay. All right, so we do, again, 15 minus 7, and we get positive 8. All right. Good stuff. Okay. Any questions? Any questions about that? No? Okay. All right. All righty. Let's go ahead and take a look here at the next section, which is not this section, but it's kind of out of order here. But I gotta go down to multiplication. Did that section right? There we go. All right. So let's talk about section 9.3 here. Okay. So section 9.3 here is multiplying and dividing signed numbers. Okay, so we've talked about multiplication and division here, but let's talk about the keys here about how to multiply and divide signed numbers. Really what it comes down to is you're not going to do anything different that you have done before. Okay, so it's the same still multiplication, it's the same, division as you do with your regular numbers. But the key difference here is that let's talk about this here. Let's talk about what the key is for multiplication and division here. See if I can have some space here. I guess I'll have to put it up there. All right. So the key here is basically the rules. All right. And all you have to know is the rules here. And once you know the rules, it's pretty simple. First, let's talk about multiplication rules. All right. So this is one of those things that you definitely want to write down. That way you don't get confused and you keep it as simple. Now, what I'm going to write here as the rules for multiplication specifically is if we have, say, a positive number, and let's say we multiply by another positive number. So if we multiply by another positive number, well, the answer here, regardless of whatever those two numbers is going to be positive. Okay, so positive times positive is positive. Next, let's say in this case here, let's say I have a positive number, but let's say I multiply that by a negative number. Okay, so I take a positive number, I multiply it by a negative number. Well, my final answer here is going to be negative. Okay, so a positive number times a negative number is going to be negative. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. All right, next, let's say we flip them around. Let's say we have a negative number here times a positive number. Well, a negative number times a positive number is still negative. Okay, so in terms of which way you write the numbers, doesn't matter. Okay, so that's what basically this is saying. All right, you can write -1 times 2 or 2 times -1. Whatever the case may be, the sign is still going to be negative irrespective. Now the last one here has stuff that we just talked about here in the last section when we talked about subtracting two numbers. Now when we had minus a negative number, we changed both of those into a positive. And this is where that kind of links in from what we talked about here just a second ago, is that if we take a negative times a negative, that's still going to hold suit from what we talked about here in the last section for subtraction. A negative times a negative here magically changes that into a positive. So as the old saying goes, two wrongs make a right, and there you go. Those are the rules for multiplication, just like so. Okay, now there is the other side of things as well. Let's talk about division. All right, so I'm going to state for division here, division rules. All right. Hey, Aaron, thank you for the follow, my friend. So the rules for division are fairly simple as well. So let's go over those. Again, they're pretty much the same as multiplication, but again, having them in your notes to have it as a handy reference never hurts. All right. So here we have a positive number divided by a positive number, and you know what? I should probably separate that up. That one more time. There we go. So a positive number divided by a positive number is still going to be a positive number. Okay, so 4 divided by 2 is still a positive number. Okay, positive 2, like in that case. All right, next, what happens if we take a positive number and we divide that by a negative number? So we take a positive number divided by a negative number. Well, that answer there is going to be negative at the end of the day. Just like multiplication, we did positive times a negative, we got a negative. Well, the same thing applies here for division as well. A division is a multiplication. That's correct. Just another way to write multiplication there is a division, but with fractions. So maybe not so great. If you like fractions or not. All right, we take a negative, we divide that by a positive, and once again here, no matter which way we write it, just like multiplication, okay, that's still going to be negative. And then finally, the last one here is we take a, and I think, you know what, I'm going to put this over here on this side, because I'm running out of space there. If we take a negative number and we divide it by another negative number, that is going to turn into a positive number here, much the same way we had for the other one. Actually, let's see if I can put that the next one down. All right, kind of. All right, so we have a negative. I'll put that next one down here. So we have a negative divided by a negative is a positive at the end of the day. Okay, so these are the rules here that are going to be the key to this entire section. So again, make sure you have this written down so that way you can reference back to it in case if you're not sure what sign that the final answer is going to be at the end of the day. A lot of these things basically revolve around all of these rules here, and you can see here that multiplication division, and as Crevette has correctly pointed out, that division is just a re-representation of multiplication in some way. Well then, you can see that the rules are pretty much the same, just the operators are different. So, okay, well, let's take a good look here and how to approach some of these problems here. All right, so here, let's see, we got -8 times 4. All right, so we have a negative number times a positive number. So let's reference our table here of rules. Again, I'll just put these in boxes here so you'll know which one is which. There we go. Okay, so we have a negative times a positive, so our answer here has to be negative. And all you have to do is multiply 8 times 4, and so you get minus 32 as a result. All right, so lots of different representations, Crevette, for multiplication that you can use. So 4 times 5, 4x5, or again, yeah. Remember, one of the nice things, Crevette, about mathematics is it's again, a lot of the things are pretty worldwide accepted in terms of how things are written. A few things here or there are a little different, but in all honesty, math is a much more universal language in that regard. All right, how about 6 times -3? Let's answer this question here first. What sign is our final answer here for 6 times -3? What sign is our final answer going to be? Is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative? 6 times -3. Will that be positive or will it be negative? All right, negative. That's correct. So what we could do is take to the bank here. You could just slap a negative in the front there and you're like, cool, got it. All right, no problem. Now, just do 6 times 3. So what's 6 times 3? 18. Good. So our final answer for this problem here is -18. Right, right. No, 18 was right to my answer here, but putting it together here correctly, yes, -18 is going to be your result for that. Perfect. All right, good stuff. Let's take a look at another one. Let's look at, actually, let's have you guys try this one real quick. All right, so let's have you try number 2. What do we get here in this case? -9 times 15. What's that going to be? -135. Perfect. All right, excellent. Negative, because again, a negative times a positive. And then again, 9 times 15, 135. Perfectamundo. All right. All right. All right. Let's take a good look at a few more problems. All right. So let's take a good look here at this. So let's look at this first one here. We have -9 times -2. Okay. Now, first of all, what is the um, what is the sign of our final answer here? Is it going to be positive or is it going to be negative using our rules? Positive. Good. And then just take 9 times 2. Remember, 2 negatives make a positive here. So 9 times 2, 18. Good. Positive 18. How about, let's see, let's take a look at another one here. How about this one? Why this is labeled as A, again, I don't know, but reasons. Uh, -10 times -5. What's that going to be? +50, right? Positive 50 is correct. So here we have plus and 50. Good. Right? Two negatives make a positive. Bada bing, bada boom. Winner, winner. Chicken diner. All right. Doing good, doing good. All righty. Okay, let's have you guys try a few more here. Okay, so I'm going to mix it up here a bit because the next part here has stuff to do with the division. But again, as we talked about here before, division has pretty much the same rules as multiplication. So let's have you try a few of them here, and we'll take a minute to do those. Let's have you try letter B, letter C. Let's also have you try this letter A down here for division, and this letter C here down for division. Okay? Do the straight up division there. So this one here, -15 divided by 5, that's going to be negative, okay, for the first one here. So again, here, down here, we have -15 divided by 5. So again, negative divided by a positive will be a negative answer. And just do 15 divided by 5 here, which is just going to be 3. So just, yeah. Oh, no, you're looking at it as fraction, and that's perfectly fine. But here, we're just doing the straight up division here, just as normal. How about this one here? -14 times -1. What's that going to be? 14, that's correct. Good. Negative times a negative is positive. 14 times 1 is 14. Perfect. And how about this one? -7 times -8. Positive 56, that's correct. So negative times negative is positive. There you go. Some people like putting the plus there, so fine. And how about this one here? -75 divided by -25. 3. Okay, good. All right, so again, we got a negative divided by a negative. And again, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. And there we go. We got it. Excelente. Very good. Nice job. Doing pretty good here. Oh, all right. Good stuff. Are there any questions so far? Any questions? No? Okay. It's okay. All right. Good. Good, good, good. All right. Let's go over a couple more here. Okay. No, I don't want to do that. All right. How about letter let's do these two here. Is actually let's do all three of these. Okay. What is how about letter D? How about letter D there? All right. Don't give this away, Crevette. I know you know this one. It's impossible. All right. So I'm getting two different answers here. Oh, Alex asked me to hydrate. How you doing, Alex? Hope you're well, my friend. Thank you. All right. Hey, just flying by as the water. Good, good. You can find the limit. I'm afraid we're not that far in. The well said, Crevette. All right, so there's one of those answers is correct, and the answer to this one is it is undefined. That is correct. All right, undefined slash impossible. By the way, Alex, I love that movie, Waterboy. That Adam Sandler movie was great. I watched that 3 times. Um, all right. So we have -6 divided by 0 is undefined. Remember, very important note here. Let's go ahead and put this here. And we talked about this a long time ago. Okay, to be fair. So note, you cannot divide by 0. Okay, you cannot divide by 0. That is not possible. Okay, so that is why this is undefined. So what about letter E? What's letter E then? 0 divided by -5. So is E undefined as well? If you read the note carefully here, Yvonne, I can't divide by 0. So E is not undefined because in this case here, I am not dividing by 0, I'm dividing by -5. So that's the key difference, is 0 here is on the bottom, okay, in the denominator here. Okay, that means I'm dividing by that, right? So that's the yeah, that's a great question because that's the key difference here between letter D and letter E. Is that the first one I'm dividing by 0 here, but the second one I'm actually not because I'm dividing by -5. So that means that E here is actually 0 as a result. Okay. I know it's been a while since we talked about this one here, but again, just getting that put together there. There you go. All right. How about this last one here? 90 divided by -9. What's that? What's that last one there? Mm, -10. Okay, so we get 90 divided by -9. So that's a positive divided by a negative. So that's going to be negative. And then we just do 90 divided by 9 here, which is indeed 10. So -10 here is our final answer. Okay, good. Okay, any questions about that? none. All right. Okay. We did a letter F there, Yvonne. But as you could, oh, it's kind of hard up there. Yeah. Sorry, my bad. Yeah, so the answer here is minus 10. So again, 90 divided by positive divided by negative is negative, and 90 divided by 9 is 10. Okay, cool. Any other questions before we move forward? Nope. All right. None. All right. Good. Okay. Where's that last one there? So it's hard to find this last part here. This is as far as I was gonna go, but moved by that pretty quick. Let's see if I can find that last section there. One problem is it's kind of buried in the notes here, so I need to find that. There we go. All right. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and we got some time here. So we're going to start here with section 9.4, all right, at the very least. And we're going to combine these concepts that we talked about, adding, subtracting, multiplying, dividing. Okay, we're going to do some practice problems here. And then we'll probably get through halfway because I want to talk about exponents and everything like that with fraction bars and all that stuff. So we're going to talk about basic order of operations in this first half, and then we'll talk about we'll talk about the how when we include exponents and whatnot for next week. So okay, in any case, let's talk about order of operations here once again. Okay, so again, let's give ourselves a reminder here. Remember is key here to remembering order operations is again, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, or however you want to put it. Okay, or PEMDAS. Okay, let's go through this one more time. So what did P stand for here? What did P stand for? Parentheses, good. Okay, so P stands for parentheses. So that's the first order operation. What's E? What does E stand for? What does E represent? Exponents, that's correct. I know it's been a while, but that's okay. All right, now we have next is M and D. All right, so M and D here stands for multiply and divide. All right. Now, one thing to remember here, we talked about it a while ago, but with multiply and divide, remember that multiply and divide are the same rank. Okay, and then also, what happened here? All right, put this here. Okay, I'm not sure what happened there. And then we'll put A and addition subtract as the, again, add subtract. So let's not forget here that multiply and divide are on the same rank. We talked about it a while ago. All right, and again, we need to just remember that here once again. All right, so again, we're going to combine our rules here for sign numbers here, along with the order of operations that we have here in this case. Okay, remember that, well, with multiply and divide being the same exact rank, remember you will have to go left to right. Now, let's talk about the second key here to this section, because admittingly, if you look at the problems here off to your left, okay, there could be 3 or more numbers here in a given problem here. So what's the second key I want to talk about here? And it's a key I've kind of focused on here throughout the course of the semester. But again, to reiterate, we're going to use them here in these type of problems. Is just go one step at a time. All right, don't try and do 2 things at once. It never works out very well. Okay, just go one step at a time using the proper order of operations. So if we need to go left to right, we go left to right. We do what's in the parentheses. We do what's in the parentheses. Use the order of operations in an appropriate way, and we're going to end up with the correct final answer. Okay, so what exactly do I mean by that? Well, let's start off with something simple, and let's work our way up from here. Now, I'm not going to skip number 1 here because I'll try something with a little challenge. But let's look at this one here. We have -8 minus -2 plus -6. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to focus on -8 minus -2. Okay, that's the first thing that I'm going to look at and I'm going to solve for. Again, I'm just going to go one step at a time here. So again, just make things less confusing at the end of the day when we plod through these problems here, no matter how many numbers that you have. All right, so -8 minus -2. Now, since we just talked about how to subtract negative numbers, okay, let's rewrite this problem here first. So we're going to rewrite it in terms of addition. To do that, again, we have a negative here. Oh, not posture check. Thank you. All right, so we're going to -8 plus +2. That's correct. So here we're going to just make them plus. And so what do we get here? What's -8 plus 2? What's that going to be? -6. Good. So far here, by just doing this first part here, we get -6. Now we have another plus -6. All right. And so we take -6 plus -6. And so that's going to be our last part here, now that we bring that down. And what do we get here as our final answer? -12, right? So a negative plus another negative, it's going to be -6 plus 6 is 12. There we go. So you notice here I didn't do it like I didn't do it all at once. I just took it one piece at a time. And then there we go. We got it. Seems fair. Okay, let's do the next one. Okay, again, let's just go slow. So we have 3 times -4 divided by -6. All right, So here we have multiplication and division. Again, now that we know that multiply and divide are on the same rank, again, let's just go in order here. So we're just going to go left to right in this case, since we have both multiply and divide. So let's first do 3 times negative 4. And what's that going to be? 3 times negative 4. Negative 12, right? We have a positive times a negative number. And so that's going to be negative 12. And then we're going to divide that by negative 6. So here, in this case, we have a negative divided by a negative. So a negative divided by a negative here, what sign of that answer is that going to be? A negative divided by a negative, what's the sign of the answer? Positive. All right, so that's the first half. And then do 12 divided by 6. Okay. Negative 2, that's correct. Or we got 2. 12 divided by 6 is positive 2, because we got negative divided by negative there. Wow, that hasn't happened in a while. Okay, let me try that again. There we go. Fix the latency issue. Okay. All right, perfect. Now, to answer that question there, Crevette, actually, let me write this in chat here. So one of the things I want to highlight here is when we did order of operations, remember, it is a common issue here. It is a common issue here to do multiply first and then divide, or again, doing division first here. Again, we want to go from left to right here in terms of doing that outright. It's true, though, Crevette, to say you could do negative 4 divided by negative 6, but I'm not sure why you want to deal with fractions in the middle of the problem when you can avoid it altogether. And again, it could affect your final result. So you have to go in order there. So that's if there were parentheses, though, around negative 4 and negative 6. Then I would do that first. Now, in this case here, number 4, we'll see the same issue actually pop up here. Here, again, we are going to do going from left to right here. Again, with multiply and divide being on the same rank, we have negative 18 divided by 9 here. Okay, so I'm gonna point this out here for you, Crevette, and for everyone else here. Again, with multiply and divide being on the same rank, again we go from left to right here. So if we want to do, say, negative 18 divided by 9, that's what we actually have to do first here. In this case, unless there's parentheses that basically force us to do, say, 9 times minus 4 first. Well, that's how we attack these problems. No, please do. But yeah, I can understand that there's a lot of you get some ambiguity there, but it's actually in order of operations here, we go left to right. You treat it just like add and subtract, where you just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, all the way down the line with adding and subtracting numbers until you get to the final result. Same thing actually applies for multiply and divide. So it's a very common misconception because in schools they actually they actually say, oh, it comes multiply and then it comes divide, and then basically people get confused. I have to do multiplication first and then division, when in reality that's really not the case. And it makes things more confusing than it needs to be. And that's why I actually clarify that, because it is a very it's very bad habits that are being taught early on. So okay, but here let's go from left to right here. We get negative 18 divided by 9. All right, and what do we get there? What's negative 18 divided by 9? Negative 2. Okay, negative 2, we get 18 divided by 9. Again, we have a negative divided by a positive, so that's negative 2. And we're going to multiply that by negative 4. Okay, and so we have negative 2 times negative 4 now. And what do we get here? All right, positive 8. Positive 8 is correct. All right, very good. All right, so we get a negative times a negative, and then again we get a positive, and we have 2 times 4, which is 8. Perfect. Nice. Okay, so that's the examples. I think these three examples really highlight some of the order of operations that we kind of have to remind ourselves of, that we've talked about quite a while ago, but now are using it with signed numbers as well. And I think that's very important to go over, at least in that case. Okay. All right. Oh, this is a good one. All right. Let's try one more example here. This example right here is a very good example. 4 minus 10 divided by 2 plus 7. Okay. Um, let's look at it this way. What do we do first here in this problem? So just taking a look at this problem right here. What are we going to do first? Yeah, that's right. So actually take the sign here, J Dragon, as well. So you have minus 10 divided by 2. So we're going to do the 4, and then we'll figure out what, we'll have the 4 and the 7 here. So what's negative 10 divided by 2? Let's look at that one first. What's negative 10 divided by 2? What's that? Because I agree with that, J Dragon. That's very true. Negative 5. Perfect. So far here, we're going to replace this minus 10 divided by 2. We'll replace that with minus 5. Excellent. So we're going to have 4 minus 5. That's where the minus 5 is going to go, is where this part here is. And then plus 7. Let's go left to right now. So what do we get here in this case then? So it'd be -1. Okay, you get -1 here. 4 minus 5. Again, another way to write that is 4 plus -5. Write that on the side here. So that's -1. And then I get -1 plus 7 here. And that answer here is indeed 6. Positive 6 is correct. Very nice. Very nicely done. So just got to be careful here in some of the order of operations. All right. But that's how we get our final answer for this in this case. All right. Very good. All right. Great job. All right. Any questions? No? Okay. Well, that is where we're going to end off here for today because we're out of time. But we're going to continue doing order of operation stuff. So this is the last section of the textbook here that we're going to be covering. So we're very close to being finished. That means next Tuesday, we're going to be effectively done with the textbook, and I'm going to have a lot to talk about here for this end of the semester stuff. So I'm going to be preparing some things here for the weekend, and I'm going to let you guys know of some very important information you guys are going to need to know for end of the semester, since that's coming up here in a couple of weeks. Okay, so I'm going to let you know more about that, and regarding Chapter 9 test, and of course the final exam and whatnot. So we were going to talk about that then, so that way you're ready and good to go. All right. If there are no more questions here, I'm going to leave off here for today. All right. I'm going to keep the stream going here. For those people who are in the 11 o'clock class who come in, I'll be here. I'll be back in about 10 minutes or so. Okay. So I'm just going to take a small break, and I'll be back in 10 minutes. All right. We'll see you then. Have yourself a very wonderful weekend, everybody. Again, if you're going to stick around for the 11 o'clock class, I'll be back in 10 minutes or so. All right. Have yourself a very, very nice weekend. All right. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sane. All right. Take care, everybody. We'll see you then. All right. See you later, everybody. All right. Bye. Whoops. Alrighty, hello, 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 everybody. How's it going today? How we doing today? How we doing? Hopefully we're doing good today. Yeah. You know how it goes, everybody. Yes. Okay. Oh, what happened to my screen there? Okay. For some reason the screen went away. Okay, that was kind of weird. Hello! Hello, hello, hello! Hello, hello, hello. Good morning. Good morning, Hisa. Good morning, Samantha. Good morning, everybody. Good morning, Sion. Yes, I'm doing very good, Sion. Very good, very good, very good. It's a nice day. Sorry for being just a minute or so late. Good morning, Robert. Good morning. We actually got a bit to do here, but actually, I will say the very first class here went by fairly quick, so I was pretty happy about that in terms of material and stuff. So we should be able to get ahead here. One of the natural predators of the moose is killer whales. Yes, I actually did know that. Actually, that's one of the things I did know. Moose have very few predators, but killer whales definitely one of them. Killer whales eat a lot of things people don't realize. So, where is it? Looking for is this check here. Oh no. Give me just a second, guys. I'm just looking for where I left off. It is somewhere here. There it is. Okay. Found it. Got where I want it to be. Perfecto. All right. All right. Time's up. Let's do this. All right. Let's go to the main screen here. Bada bing, bada boom. Patricia, good morning. Good morning, Patricia. I hope you're well. I hope you are well. There you go. That's what it's all about, man. That's what it's all about. All right. All right, let's get going here, ladies and gentlemen. Let's go ahead and do this. Carissa, good morning. Good morning to you. Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Daniel, Carissa, everybody. Doing good, doing well. Hisa, I haven't seen you in a while, but I'm glad you're doing good. All right. Hot to trot today. Okay, let's get started today. Welcome back to Thursday, end of the week time today. So today, we're going to pick up where we left off last time. Last time we talked about the basics of sign numbers. Okay, so we talked about the basics of sign numbers, and we put those concepts, the basics concepts, together, and we also talked about how to add signed numbers here last time. Now, the reason why we ended off adding about sign numbers is, again, those concepts that we talked about here on Tuesday for adding sign numbers, again, positive and negative numbers, we're going to be using those concepts here once again today. Okay, so we're going to be doing a lot of stuff here. Of course, everything here is going to be working with sign numbers of some variety, but you're going to see a lot of parallels for drawing from doing from the addition stuff that we talked about here last time for positive negative numbers, how to add those two together. And we talked about those three cases about how to add them together. And then we're going to now relate them to talking about subtracting sign numbers here, as well as you can see here on the screen. Now, to start here, one of the things that we can say here is that, of course, you can read these out here appropriately in terms of subtraction. So you can see here, like, say, -3 minus +2, for example, something like that. Or 6 minus -4. Or -7 minus -1. Or you could say 8 minus +3. Regardless of whatever you say here, again, that's how you would say it out loud. Now, the question really comes down to is this, is how do we subtract two signed numbers from each other? So once again, just like addition, we're going to actually have two cases here one more time. Okay. Oh, okay. I believe you, Hisa. I don't know why the chart doesn't say you're on, but well, we're gonna run with it, and I totally believe you, 1000%. All right. So let's talk about how we can subtract two sign numbers here from each other, and let's see what we're working with. Okay, and we're going to run into two cases here. And the reason why I want to break it down into two cases here specifically is because it'll make it a lot easier to kind of put it into the same context that we talked about here last time, rather than making things more confusing than they need to be. So that's kind of like my motivation behind that. But let's talk about the first case here for subtraction. All right. Case number one here for subtraction is basically we're going to be subtracting a positive number. Okay, so talk about the method here in just a second. But what example am I talking about here? Let's say, I'm subtracting by a positive number. It's like, okay, what does that mean here in this case? Well, let's say I had this situation where I had, say, -4 minus 6. Or let's just, no, you know what? I'm going to write this 4 minus 6. Let's just write 4 minus 6. And then this is what I had here to start with, okay? And I was asked, okay, can I subtract those two numbers together? Notice the 6 here is positive. I can say it as 4 minus -6 as an example here. So what's the method to go ahead and subtract a positive number here, which could net you a negative number at the end of the day? Well, what we want to do is rewrite it in terms of an addition problem. Rewrite it in terms of addition. I'll just write it that way. And we're going to talk about how to do that here. So basically put, if I look at 4 minus 6, I'm going to rewrite 4 minus 6 as 4 plus -6. Okay, so if I look at it in terms of, say, rewriting as an addition problem here, then basically I could say if I have A minus B, okay, regardless of whatever numbers A and B are, I can rewrite it as A plus -B. Okay, so A minus B, again, I can rewrite it as A plus -B there. Again, and we can go back and use our addition rules that we talked about here on Tuesday, and we can now go ahead and do the calculation out. Okay, so that's how we can go ahead and approach this problem here. Same thing implies here is if we, again, let's look at another problem here. It says if I had, say, again, let's say that first number was negative for whatever reason. Let's say it was -8 minus we'll go with minus 11. So -8 minus 11. Well, I can rewrite -8 minus 11 as -8 plus -11. So basically what we're doing here is I want to be able to have you see here how to rewrite this in much more clear terms where it's easier for us to go ahead and apply those rules that we talked about here last time when we said did addition of signed numbers there. Okay, so when we talked about positive negative numbers, this is basically the first case that I'm talking about here in this case is basically subtracting a positive number from each other. Now, okay, I don't want you to, okay, why are you doing that here? I don't want you to do that. Thank you. Oh, hang on a second, sorry. This happened last time and I wasn't too thrilled. All right, let's look at case number 2 here. Okay, so case number 2 here is, let's say we're subtracting a negative number. So what's the method here? We're going to rewrite in terms of addition, of course. But let's talk about how we do that here via a small example. So an example here in this case would be, say, let's go with 5 minus -10. Okay, so 5 minus -10. So one of the things that I want to discuss here is that if we have 5 minus -10, okay, then we're just going to rewrite it in terms of addition as 5 plus +10. Now, a lot of people like to do this here fairly often. So meaning to say, again, a negative of a negative is a positive here. And that's one of the things we're going to be discussing here multiplying and dividing as well. But a negative times a negative is a positive. But you see here, basically people like to put a plus sign here and a plus sign here to represent that sign change when we subtract by a negative number. So what does that mean there in terms of our generic rule? Our generic rule is going to work like this. And I'm going to zoom out here because you're being annoying. All right, um, so basically, if I have, say, a minus negative b, okay, regardless whatever a and b are, okay, then this is going to equal a plus positive b, or a plus b. In a sense, essentially, our key here is going to be, the big key here in this part here is that negative of a negative here, negative of a negative number here, is going to equal to be the positive of that particular number. So two wrongs make a right. That's another way to kind of phrase that here. So that's how we essentially look at that in this case. So it works the same way with the negative numbers here. So again, if we put in here, say we have negative 3 minus negative 7. All right, as a quick example here. Now that looks pretty bad. Tab that over. So if I have, say, negative 3 minus a negative 7, well, then that can be rewritten as, say, negative 3 plus positive 7. And then you can see what to do from there. Okay, so again, we're just talking about rewriting these problems here using these two cases that you see up here on the screen. All subtraction is going to fall underneath one of these two classifications. All right, and that's because we want to put it back into terms of what we talked about for addition, what we did here on Tuesday. Okay, so that's what we have here in that case. Now that we have that understanding, let's go ahead and try some examples here using these two cases that you see here. Okay, so let's try some problems here together and we'll see how it goes. All right, so first let's look at letter B. So I'm gonna go through this here. I'm gonna go through this one here together. All right, so here we have negative 9 minus 15. Now, based on the cases that we have here, we're subtracting by a positive number. So I'm going to rewrite it in terms of addition using this. Okay, so these are the two things that we're going to focus on here. So here we're going to have negative 9 plus negative 15. So I'm going to rewrite it in terms of addition here. And now, hopefully this makes it significantly easier for you to go ahead and do the addition or subtraction related to this problem. So we have negative 9 plus 15. They're both negative numbers. So all you do is do the 9 plus 15. And 9 plus 15 here, if you do it out, is 24. And then tack on the negative since they're both negative numbers. That's all you have to do for that one. Okay, so we get minus 24 for that. Okay, now let's look at letter C here. Letter C says negative 5 minus negative 7. Okay, so again, another way to write this is, again, that would be our second case here. We're subtracting by a negative number. So we're going to change both of those to positives. So again, a popular thing to do here would be to make this a positive and to make this a positive as well on the same line. Or again, you can write that on a separate line here if you want. Again, we're just taking negative 5 plus 7 at this point. I know the plus is a redundant here, but again, just to showcase how we're actually doing this process here. And so once we go ahead, excuse me, once we go ahead and do so, and we have negative 5 plus positive 7, well, hey, let's add these two together here. We're going to take a look at 5 and 7 here. 7 is the bigger of the two numbers here since we're mixed in terms of our positive and negative numbers. So our final answer here will be positive. Do 7 minus 5. And that's going to be positive 2. Okay? So that's our final answer for that problem. Okay, so by and large, that isn't too hard. But as you can see here, Again, we can use both cases here. Again, rewriting in terms of addition, and hopefully that'll be significantly easier for you to follow in terms of putting 2 and 2 together. Now, let's take a good look here. Let's have you guys give it a try here. I want you to try these two problems here. Let's try letter D, and let's try letter E. So try letter D and letter E here. And we're going to try some more problems down here as well, but let's just try letter D and letter E here first. Let's give ourselves a minute and tell me what you get in the chat. So you have 4 and minus 5, okay. See if anybody got any other answers. So we got 16 and minus 5. 4 and minus 5, okay. All right, got a few answers there. That's good. All right, so looks like we have the same answer here for E, but it looks like we have differing answers here for D. Well, let's take a good look here at this, and let's see what we're working with. All right, so here we have 10 minus negative 6. All right, so let's first rewrite 10 minus negative 6. How can I rewrite 10 minus negative 6? 16 there, okay. How can we write 10 plus 6? That is correct. Remember that these both have to change to positives. So we're going to have 10 plus positive 6. And now we just add those together. And so here, you're going to get 16 straight up. So 16 is the correct answer for D. Remember, think about which case that we fall underneath here. We have minus 6. So again, we have this second case here where we have, let's say, 10 minus negative 6. That both becomes a positive there. So again, we're not subtracting 10 minus 6. That's what you assumed. You're not changing minus 6 to positive 6. You're changing both signs here. So be very careful here. You're changing both signs here to positives. How do you know when you don't tack on a negative sign? Well, again, that goes back to our rules for addition there, Carissa. So, again, if we have a mixed number here, for example, again, let's say we are run into this situation where we have one positive number and one negative number, then do the trick what we had for addition, which is to compare the two numbers, see which one's bigger. If the bigger number is negative, then your final answer will be negative. Do the subtraction, and then you'll get your final answer once you put both of those together. So we're using those tricks that we talked about when we talked about addition. We're going to be using those here once again, putting it into the same context. Now, again, I know this is going to sound really harsh, but this is one of those things I'm going to be a little hard on because the thing is that this is one of those fundamentals, and I'm not going to disagree with anybody here. I had this issue in the first class as well, but I'm not going to disagree with that. This is one of the basic fundamentals that is going to be the most important thing you're going to have to kind of get used to as you work your way up the mathematical ladder. This is one of those things that a lot of people struggle with, because obviously you're doing the mental calculations here. So what I'm trying to do here is if the bigger number has a negative sign, then the answer will be negative. Yes. That's why I put it actually in those terms there, because it's a lot easier to put it into a simpler context. You're like, okay, which number's bigger? Okay, then the bigger number is negative, so my final answer has to be negative if I'm adding two things together. See, if I put subtraction in terms of addition, well, then it's a lot easier for me to do it in my head, or it's a lot easier for me when I write it out, for me to get to that correct final answer. So I try and break it down into something easier, into kind of a hey, we can apply this in this context, and it's a lot easier for me to think about. And again, I want you to carry that through to the next math class, because heck, I mean, I've taught a lot of classes, and even if I talk about calculus students, they still have a tough time with signs and a lot of stuff like that. And because they have a lot of tough time with signs, I said, hey, just don't assume it's going to be one thing. Write it out and then see what it is, because it's not always necessarily going to be the case, about what you see. So I know it seems like I'm, kind of diatribing here, but knowing how important this concept really is in the long run, um, about subtraction and addition of signed numbers, because you see so much of it. That's why I'm being that's why I'm kind of being very very harsh about it. But I think that if you get used to once you get used to it, it's really not as bad as it seems. Okay, so it just takes some time getting used to. So I like the fact that a lot of people put 4, because that's just kind of one of those things that kind of showcases, hey, that's one of the things you kind of need to be sure you work on and make more consistent. So is just applying it back into something that you do understand a whole lot more of, which is addition. Okay, letter E. Letter E here, that's correct, putting minus 25, so we make those both a plus here. Again, minus 25 plus 20. So plus positive 20 if you want to write that in. Like I said, I know this is redundant here, but again, some people just like having like that positive, so they keep their organizing their thoughts. So again, just to highlight this, Carissa, I compared 25 and 20. 25 is the larger number, but it's negative. So my final answer here is going to be negative. Then I do 25 minus 20. And so here I get 5. So I get, again, our final answer here will be minus 5. Okay. That's how I basically put 2 and 2 together there. Any questions about that before we move forward? Okay. Let's Absolutely. We're definitely doing other examples here. 100%, Patricia. Let's do that next example right now. All right. So let's have you guys try letter A. Let's have you try letter A here. Negative 6 minus 5. So negative 6 minus 5. So you guys tell me, how can I rewrite negative 6 minus 5 in addition? Okay, you get negative 11. Okay, but I agree that's the answer here. But can you tell me, how can I rewrite that in terms of an addition? I agree that's the answer here, 100%. Again, I just want you to see the process here. So, but I'm not going to disagree. Minus 11 is the answer, because it's true. It is. Okay, very good. That's correct. So I put negative 6 plus negative 5. Right. So we put it in terms of addition here. We get negative 6 plus a negative 5. And then we go ahead and add those together here. So again, to add these, we do 6 plus 5, which is 11. And since both of them are negative, we tack on the negative there at the end. And there we go. We got ourselves a winner. So that's, again, justifying the minus 11 that everybody correctly came up with here. But again, just showcasing how that's going to work. Would the negative plus negative apply here? Yes, because since they're both negative numbers, we know that the answer will automatically be negative. So just add the two numbers here together. I just added 6 plus 5 here, Samantha, which I got 11. And then you just tack on a negative because both numbers were negative to begin with. So that was applying our addition rule that we talked about here on Tuesday in regards to if both numbers were, that second case that we talked about here, where both numbers were negative. Remember, negative plus a negative. You're thinking multiplication. All right, there we go. It's kind of important there. Yeah, just remember those addition cases from last time. That's very important, okay? Let's try another one though, because I think that's fair here. All right, let's look at letter D here, because I want you to get comfortable with this. So you guys are asking really good questions here, because I do want you to get comfortable with this process here. So we need to go slow. We go slow. I don't really care. It's just a matter of just getting comfortable with the process here. So let's do 4 minus 9. So first of all here, 4 minus 9, how do we rewrite that in terms of addition? 4 plus negative 9, that's correct. So, all right. So again, go back to your case here, Samantha. You have to look at your cases here. Make sure you have these written down, okay? So the two things in the boxes here are two things that I highly suggest you have written down. All right, Samantha? One of the things that I highly suggest is you need to get comfortable with these rules. Well, write down these rules here on, if you don't have them written down already on a piece of paper, these are definitely two things that you should get used to. Okay, so again, a minus b being equal to a plus negative b, or again, a minus a negative b being a plus a positive b, again, just changing that sign there. Okay, so like I said, no, I'm being harsh here, but again, this is like the super important fundamental part that you're gonna need to get used to. So I'm gonna be like super big about this. Um, okay. So I hope you have both of those written down there, Samantha. I want to be sure that you can use those appropriately here in these problems. All right, cool. All right, so as you can see here, now that'll explain to help you here. That's why, the correct there is 4 plus negative 9, okay? So that's where you get 4 plus negative 9. So that's how you rewrite that in terms of addition. And then you just compare the two. You compare 4 and 9. 9 is the bigger number. So our final answer here is going to be negative. And so we just do 9 minus 4, which is 5. So our final answer here is minus 5. Okay, any questions so far about that? Okay, let's try another here as well. I want you to try letter E. No? Okay, good. Let's try letter E here. Negative 7 minus a negative 15. First, 8. Okay. I agree this is 8. All right. No question about that. Now tell me how we got there. How can we rewrite this problem here? Because I agree, 8 is definitely the final answer here, 100%. All right. But how do we rewrite that problem there? -7 plus 15. Nice, that's correct. Plus positive 15 is absolutely correct. Very good. Absolutely correct. Nice. So again, the thing I'm stressing here is just showing you the process about how to justify that, because this is like basically a lot of the things that I'm writing out is what you would do in your head. But one of the things about science is that science is super confusing. So instead of necessarily trying to do everything up here, just write it out one piece at a time. And that's essentially what I'm doing here. So again, I have a negative and a positive. Compare the two. Again, to get 15. Final answer will be positive. So again, I do 15 minus 7 here. That's 8. And so I get positive 8 as my answer. Bada bing, bada boom. All right. So not too hard when it comes to that. But again, something that is very vitally important to kind of get to know. All right. Very, very good. So that's about subtraction there in that case. Okay. All right. Any more questions before I move forward? None? Okay, perfect. Excellent. All right. So we're going to move forward here to the next section. Okay. Oh, this is kind of buried here, but I'm going to need to go. Up, up, up. All right, there we go. All right. So we're going to talk about multiplication and division of signed numbers. Now, there's a lot of gobbledygook in this section here in terms of how you can explain this, but you know what I'm going to do is, because I am super lazy, I'm going to do it the easy way. All right, so the thing that you have to kind of remember here, what's the key to this pretty much this entire section, is just to remember the rules here. And it kind of ties into what we just talked about when it comes to subtraction. So a little bit. So let's talk about the key here. The key here is just the rules itself, and we're going to state what these rules are here for multiplication and division here respectively. So first, let's look at multiply or multiplication. All right. So for multiplication, it's going to pretty much work like this. If we have, there we go. So let's say I had a positive number and a positive number, and let's say I multiply them together. Actually, I'll put them over here. Probably be a bit easier. So let's say I had a positive number, and I multiplied that by another positive number. Well, the expectation that I have here underneath multiplication is that a positive number times a positive number will net me once again a positive number. So I have the expectation that the final answer here will be positive if both numbers there are positive. Okay, fine. That one's pretty easy because everybody's pretty used to that by now. Let's look at the next one. What happens if the first number is positive, but now the second number here is negative? What's my expectation here? Well, if the first one's positive and the second one is negative, then my expectation is that the final answer here will be negative. Okay, so a positive times a negative will be negative. Next, a negative number times a positive is going to equal, again, if we just flip the places around, so we put the negative number in front first instead of the second one, well, the same thing's going to happen regardless. So no matter which way you write the numbers out, if the negative comes first or the negative comes second, still a negative times a positive or a positive times a negative, they're both going to be negative. And now the last one here is we have a negative times a negative. Now in this particular case here, a negative times a negative basically takes us back to the last section we just talked about. When we rewrote the problem here in terms of addition, say a subtraction problem like 10 minus negative 2, we changed that to a positive, right? We said a minus of a minus is a plus. And this applies here, this directly applies here in multiplication as well, where a negative times a negative for the same exact reason is a positive here. So again, two wrongs make a right if you want to think of it that way. That's exactly what's happening here in this case. Okay. All right. All right. Sorry about that. All right. Okay, so that's multiplication. Let's talk about the other rule here, which is for division. All right. So division here, let's start off with our rules here. Now, here's what's nice about division. Division works pretty much exactly the same way as multiplication. Okay, so the only difference is the operator we're using, which is just division as opposed to multiplication. So if we divide a positive with another positive, well then, our final answer is expected to be like multiplication, positive. Okay. Again, next, if we take a positive number and we divide it by a negative number, well then our expectations is going to be negative. Just like multiplication, we had a positive number times a negative number being negative. Well, same thing for a division. Next, we have a negative number divided by a positive number. Again, just flipping the places around, and once again, we get a negative result here. Sorry. And then finally, we have a negative number. We divide that by another negative number. And again, as we mentioned here for multiplications, two wrongs make a right, and once again, that holds here. Okay, so a negative divided by a negative is equal to a positive. Okay, so all we need to really determine is what the sign of that number is going, what the sign of that product or division is going to be, and then we go ahead and multiply or divide appropriately, and then we end up with our final answer. That's pretty much it. So once you know the rules here, you can go ahead and automatically apply it to what you see here with the problems. Now, to kind of highlight this, let's take a look at this first question. We have negative 8 times 4. Well, let's look at our rules that we have here. We have a negative times a positive. So what should our answer be? Should our answer be positive or should our answer be negative? Negative, right? And now, if you have that that's correct. And if you have that expectation, right, you know the rules. You say, hey, I have a negative times a positive. That's supposed to be negative. Now all I have to do is just not worry about the sign anymore and just go ahead and multiply straight up. So I'm just going to multiply 8 times 4 here, and I get 32. And that's it. That's all I generally have to do. So, I mean, that's your final answer is minus 32. So you're just putting those pieces together. That's it. Simple enough. How about letter B? What's the answer here to letter B? It's negative, okay. All right, I agree it's negative. And what's our answer for that? 6 times 3? 18. So negative 18 is the correct answer. Spot on. Okay, good. Let's try this one. Negative 9 times 15. What's that going to be? Negative 135. Look at that. Easy time, easy life. Okay. That wasn't so bad. Okay. Doing good, doing good. All right. Positive vibes. I like this. I like this. You guys are doing really good. Really, really good. All right. Let's go ahead and take a look at some more problems here. All right. Let's try this first one here. -9 times -2. Okay, so what sign should our answer be here in this case? We have a -9 times -2. Spot on. That's correct. A positive, right? Negative times a negative is a positive. And we do 9 times 2. 9 times 2, 18. Spot on. Look at that. You guys got this down. All right. Excelente. I liking what I'm seeing. I approve of everything. All right. Well, let's go ahead and ramp up the difficulty here. I'm going to move forward from these problems. I want you to try some of these. So we're going to have you try with division this time. Hey. But honestly, with division being the same thing as multiplication, it's not so bad. So let's try these 4 problems here. Let's take a minute and let's have you guys try these 4 problems that I've circled here on the screen. Okay. And once you guys got those answers there, we'll go ahead and do that together there, and we'll put them together. All right, so let's take a minute here. Don't forget the 2 division problems there on the bottom. Okay. All right. Look at all these answers. I like what I'm seeing. I really do. You guys are hitting out of the ballpark here. I like all these answers. Okay. Okay. All these answers you've posted here, they look really, really good. I'm very, very pleased. So let's go in no particular order here. You guys have written down the correct answers though for these because I know there's a couple of C's and a couple, and stuff like that. So totally understandable. But here we have -14 times -1. Again, negative times a negative is positive. 14 times 1, 14. So 14 here. Spot on. Nice job, everybody. -7 times -8. That's going to be positive. Negative times negative. 7 times 8, positive 56. All right, good job. Down here, again, you have a negative divided by a positive. So a negative divided by a positive here is going to be, again, a negative. And then just do 15 divided by 5. That's going to be -3. So that part is correct. And then finally, we have this. We have a negative divided by a negative. And that indeed is a positive. Okay. You see how good the rules are. The rules just make it easier. I don't have to explain with 15,000 things. As long as you know what the rules are, it's like, here you go, just do it. So 75 divided by 25 here, 3, winner, winner, chicken diner. All right, good stuff. All right, so all the answers I saw in there were absolutely correct. All right. Great job, everybody. Great job. Okay. All right. Now let's try these last 3 here. All right. Some of these we've talked about before, but let's go over this. Let's talk about letter D there. What do you think the answer to D is? What's the answer to D? I got a couple answers here. See what other people have to say. Well, you got two choices there, Patricia. You got two possible answers. You got 0 or undefined. One of those two. All right, Samantha changed her mind. She said it's undefined. See if she's she, Patricia, and Daniel are correct. Okay. All right. Lots of good answers here. 100%. So let's look at let's look at the next one here. Remember, 0 divided by a number is 0, but any number divided by 0 is undefined. Okay, that is a very good explanation there. That's a very good explanation there, Daniel. That is correct. So -6 divided by 0 is indeed undefined. Okay, and I do really like the explanation there. And I'll put that as a side note here, as actually a note. All right, so note, again, you cannot divide by 0. And Daniel's explanation is very good. That is the correct distinction there between the two. Absolutely true. So so again, what that makes is that this is undefined, but this is 0. Okay. Again, you cannot divide by 0 because 0 here is in the denominator. But 0 being in the numerator divided by another number, that's okay. Okay, as long as you're not dividing by 0 in the denominator, you should be good to go. Okay, so again, that's the key difference here is that, oops, is that we have -5 here in the bottom, okay? Right, and we have 0 here and in the denominator. So when we divide by 0 here, that's undefined. But if this number here does not 0 in the denominator, well then, oh, okay. Now we're not dividing by 0, so 0 divided by that is just fine. Then it will be 0, perfect. How about letter F? How about letter F? Letter F. -10, yes. -10 is correct. All right, very good. Nice job, everybody. Good work, good work, good work. Any questions about multiplication and division of signed numbers? Are you sure? Are you guys sure, by the way? Are you guys sure that I have to teach this class? Because, I mean, it looks like you guys can do it for me. I mean, seriously. Today's been like, you guys are just like boom, 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 boom. And I don't even need to teach. You guys can just do it for me. Why am I trying to kill you? Well, that was a secret mission that I wasn't supposed to talk about. But, uh, you know, um, now that it's kind of out of the bag, I'm so sorry, Samantha. I'm an assassin. The only thing is that you never hear it. You know, it's look, Samantha. Okay, look. Let me just. There you go. Got to do the vibe check before the stream starts. But if we're, I'll put it this way, right? Look, my assassin skills are like a fart. Okay, silent but deadly. All right, I'm just saying. Just saying. All right, that's just how it is. You'll never smell it coming until the last moment. Yes. uh, Let me try and find this last section here. Kind of buried, so. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Oh, man. Okay. Yeah, you guys have ripped through this, so hopefully we're going to get through the first part of this next section here, and we'll end off here for the day. So let's talk about this last section here, which is order of operations with signed numbers. Okay, so with positive negatives are order of operations. Now, of course, let's talk about the first key here. The key here is, of course, to remember order of operations. So remember again, PEMDAS here, our order of operations. So let's go through that here once again. What does P stand for here? What does P stand for? What does P stand for here? Parentheses. Okay, good. All right, parentheses is correct. Okay, absolutely true. All right, very good. What about E? All right, exponents. Good. All right, so exponents, that's correct. All right. All right, and then we have M and D here. Now, just as a friendly reminder, M and D here, oops, meant to put this here. Sorry. With an M, not that. So M and D here, again, we're multiply and divide. Okay, don't forget, though, that these are the same rank, okay? Remember that multiply and divide, what we talked about last time here, is that multiply and divide are on the same rank. Okay, they're on the same level. And that A and D here are add, subtract. All right, as our last two. Again, same rank for that. So let's talk about the second. Let's talk about the next key here, because there's two keys here in this. We're doing order operations now with positive and negative numbers thrown into the fray. One is that a lot of times we talk about sign changes. Okay, again, when sign changes happen, you have to be very careful about them. So, well, the second key here that I'm going to put here is something that you probably do already, but something that I'm going to stress on here greatly here, and that is, again, go one step at a time. All right. There's no reason for you to do everything all at once. And again, there's, as you know from the order of operations, there is a particular order about how we have to evaluate the problems here because of these order operations that do exist. So having said that here specifically, what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at a problem here. And again, we're just going to go slow and just go one step at a time, okay? So it doesn't have to be, again, don't do everything all at once, especially with sign changes and stuff like that. It just makes things more confusing than really what needs to happen, okay? So let's look at number 2 here. And so here, I'm going to focus on, um, we're going to focus on -8 minus -2. Okay, so let's add those two things together here first. So what do we get here as our answer here? -8 minus -2. What's that going to be? Again, change it into addition if you like, because that's going to be important. Okay, -6, that's correct. So here, again, you can change -2, that becomes a positive, right? Both of those become positive. They become -8 plus plus 2, sorry. And so here we get -6 as a result. Hey, Sophros, my dude, how are you? Been a while. Um, okay. Next, we're going to bring the next -6 down. So we're going to have -6 plus -6. Okay, and what do we get here in this case? -6 plus -6? What's that going to be? Get, yeah, -12. Okay, good. It's like, wait, did I just read that right away? Okay, yeah, -12. All right, very good. So we have -6, 12. Well, be careful here, Hisa. All right, remember, you're not, yeah, -12. There you go. Okay, so again, both of them are negative, right? Hey, it's all good, buddy. I hope Germany's treating you treating you well this time of year. Vaccine's coming, man. It's coming. All right. So here we're just, hey, absolutely, my friend. You know you're always welcome to drop in at any time. So we have 6 plus 6 here. That's 12. Okay. Again, and then just tack on the negative there at the end. Okay. So just as a friendly reminder there to Yahisa, that's how we get -12. All right, good. So not too hard for that. Okay, let's try the next one here. Let's look at this one here. Again, let's do it in order. Okay, so again, we have to use order of operations here. We have 3 times -4 divided by -6. Again, we're just going to go left to right here. Okay, because again, with order of operations, multiply and divide are in the same rank. So we're going to do here 3 times -4. So what's 3 times -4 here? -12. That's right. Okay, so we have a positive times a negative. All right, spot on, spot on, spot on. And now we're just dividing that straight up by -6. So we got 12 divided by -6. What's that going to be? All right, +2. Right. Very nice. Great job, everybody. So again, a negative divided by a negative is a positive. Okay, and so here we get +2 as a result. All right, nice job. Okay, let's look at this next one here. Here we have -18 divided by 9 times -4. Okay, real quick question here. Give yourself a friendly reminder. What should I do first in this problem? Multiply 9 by -4? Hmm. Is that true? Parentheses. Well, there are parentheses around -4, but we can't do much with that. When we talk about parentheses there, Patricia, to be fair, we have to be like talking about saying if we're adding or subtracting or doing anything inside those parentheses. Division, it's just another way to write division, admittingly, Selfros. So again, um, yeah, you don't see that too much, but again, it's a way to kind of ease into talking about what division is. So again, it's just another representation. Yeah, there's so many different ways to write multiplication and division, honestly speaking. So the higher up you go, the more like the less you'll see like the X symbol, for example, when you go into college, you'll see more dots or parentheses being like for multiplication, or you see more fractions for division with fraction line. So again, it's just like you work with like a basic symbol and then you work your way up to another representation of that symbol. It takes more time to actually write out that symbol, but um, like for kids, it's easier to write it out with the division symbol at first. So Like, to me, I think it's a psychological thing too. So 9 times minus 4 is the first thing that you're gonna do. Yeah. Yeah, exactly. The symbol there is very unique, so. All right, everybody. Let's remind ourselves about order of operations. Multiply and divide are the same rank. So what does that mean? That means that we have to work from left to right. Much the same way. We talked about it previously when we talked about order of operations. But it's still going to hold true here. If multiply and divide are the same exact rank, treat it like you would add and subtract. You're going to go left to right. Meaning to say, I see division here first. I'm going to do the division here first. All right? Remember, just because multiply the word comes first doesn't mean it comes first in terms of actually doing the operation. That's why I put same rank here. I want you to remind yourself of that because that's going to be very important. You know, honestly speaking, I had another student. I had a not a student, but I had a Frenchman in my first class. I had a Frenchman in my first class, and he argued the same point. But people have to understand this is the most important. This is where people get confused because people are always taught multiply comes before divide is the word, but in reality, what they don't tell you is that multiply and divide are the same rank, and you work it the same way you do add and subtract. Everybody can add and subtract, from left and right, because that's how everybody does it. They see one number, you go boom, 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 right down the process. But they have to understand that multiply and divide works exactly the same way as add and subtract down the line for order of operations. It's always works that same way. And so however it's taught, back in the day, they really promote a lot of bad habits there in that regard. 18 divided by 9 here, Patricia, that is correct. -2, absolutely true. And then we multiply that by -4. That is absolutely correct. Okay, so again, a negative divided by a positive is negative. 18 divided by 9 is 2, so we get -2 as a result. Here we get a negative times a negative here. That is a positive, and 2 times 4 here, indeed, as correctly stated here, is 8. Okay, and that is the correct answer. Very nice job, Patricia. Very good. Any questions about that so far? Nope. Okay. Now we're going to do one more example here, so you guys help guide me through this problem, okay? Okay, so the next example we're going to do here, and we'll finish off the rest of this for next time, but this is the last example I want to do here, is this one. 4 minus 10 divided by 2 plus 7. Okay, which part am I going to do first in this problem? Okay, very good. The 10 divided by 2. That's right. So let's focus on the 10 divided by 2 part here. That's right. Right, I got to do the division first. Lots of numbers floating around, true, but division has to come first here. So what's 10 divided by 2 here? All right, 5. Perfect. So we get 5 here. So right now, let's write down what we have here. So we got 4 minus 5, taking stock with what we got after we put... All right, so we have 4 minus 5 plus 7. All right, now let's just go left to right, right? Addition, subtraction, just go left to right. So next we have 4 minus 5. Again, another way to write 4 minus 5 is 4 plus -5. So let's not forget about that. So What do we get here? What's 4 minus 5? -1. That is correct. And then we have -1 plus 7. All right, +6. Good. All right, excellent. You see how we have to go left to right for add and subtract? Well, same thing for multiply, divide. Okay. The consistency has to be there. So I harp on that really hard, but it's because a lot of people learn bad habits when they're in school, and it's like, oh man, got to get on the ball with that thing. All right. That and some teachers even teach it wrong. So I'm like, oh, that really sucks. So okay. Very good, very good. All right. Great job, everybody here today. Great work. Okay, so we're going to end off right here for today. Okay, so we're going to do more problems here with order of operations here for next time. We're going to finish off the last part of section 9.4. This is in effect of the last section of chapter 9. Okay, so this is going to be the last of the material here. Now, for next class here, next Tuesday, we're going to have a lot to talk about here after we're done with that section, because we're going to talk about, of course, the last test here for Chapter 9. We're going to need to talk about the final exam. Okay, we're going to talk about homework stuff for you to do. Okay, so there's going to be a lot up there to talk about in terms of just making up assignments or making up things that maybe you just want to improve upon. The tests there, of course, can't do those, but again, you get the general idea. So we're going to talk a lot about that here for next time. But yeah, we're in really good shape to finish off the entirety of the textbook here next class. All right. All right. Anyone have any questions about tests or anything like that? I'll be talking more detail about that. So yeah, this is pre-algebra here, Sophros. All right. Everyone, I hope you have a very wonderful weekend. Okay, please take care of yourself. All right, we're going to come back here on Tuesday. We're going to have a lot of discussion here about kind of the end of the semester stuff. We're getting into the final stretch here. So, chapter 6 test 2 chapter hang on a second. Let me try and say this with a proper way. I'm speaking like super fast. Chapter 6 test is due on Sunday. Oh my gosh. All right. I can't even speak. Okay. All right. Yes, the chapter 6 test is due on Sunday. That's correct. And we're going to talk a lot more about chapter 9 and then the final exam as well. I have a little bit more work to do over the weekend, so I'm going to be working on that. I'm going to be working on that stuff there, and I'll have a lot more details for you once that's all put together. Okay? All right. Okay. Thank you guys so much here. I really appreciate you guys taking the time coming out to the stream. I love you all here. Everyone, have a wonderful weekend. Stay safe, stay healthy, and stay sane. All right. And I will see you in a few days. All right. Have yourself a great one. Take care of yourselves. All right.